Don't even understand. Like, I'm lucky to be here to be given this story time. Everything was good. Everything was solid. We chose to have a canoe. It can go very bad, very quick. Mind you, we have a 9-hour float ahead of us. Either get in the canoe or we're swimming for the next 9 hours. At this point, our canoe starts filling up with water. Went sideways, hit the tree, slow motion flip. But there was like nothing we could do because we were flipping into the rapids. This is it. Like, this is the end. Like, I'm not gonna come up from this. Welcome back, JB family. If you are new here, my name is obviously Jamie. And before we even just get into this wild story time, I need you guys to make sure you subscribe to this channel, like up this video, comment on this video, and just push it out to people. Push this wonderful channel out to people. Spread the love, okay? Spread the love. Now, this story time is gonna just be kind of like a different, like, story time than like my funny ones, I guess you could say. This one's more of like a serious one, but you know, it's all good. Like, you can laugh about it if you want to laugh about it. I don't really think there's any humor in it, but hey, whatever. But since the weather is getting warmer, it's on its way to being summertime. It is April, and we need to just put a little disclaimer out there, being careful out there, because this wonderful story time, you're lucky to even be here. Well, y'all, like, don't even understand. Like, I'm lucky to be here to be given this story time. So, yeah. Before we even get into it, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. So, every year, my family and a bunch of their friends, we all go on a float trip together. Once a year, every year, end of July. And this was the last one we went on. Well, that I went on. So it's going on, this July will be 3 years since this happened. And every day, no, not every day, but like, at first it was every day, but like now, it's just kind of like, damn, like, it still gets talked about. It's crazy. Like, it's hard. Like, it's just crazy. So, we go on a float trip, and we do, there's a lot of times we'll do like a 9-hour float down the river. We'll take a bus, go up to where we start at camp, or up to where like the bridge is, where we get into the water, and then we'll float all the way back down to where we are camping at. And you get to choose between a kayak, a canoe, and a raft. And me and this kid, we're like best friends. His name's Mason. And like, our families have just been around each other, so like, we've grown up together. Like, the lake, float trips, all this, like, we do together. Like, that's just how our friendship kind of just came about. And everything was good. Everything was solid. We chose to have a canoe. Now, let me remind you, neither of us have ever canoed in our life, nor did we really know what we were doing. So, that's number one. Before you even get on the river, to raft, kayak, canoe, whatever you're doing, make sure you do a little bit of research and try to figure out what you're doing, because it can go very bad, very quick. So, we chose to canoe, and obviously, like, the river that we float down, there are some deep parts in it, but like, a majority of it, you can like touch. I mean, there are some spots, quite a few spots that you can't, but like, it's not like a major river that's like, yeah. So we chose to canoe. Well, when you canoe, the person in the back is what you call the person that steers, okay? Well, that was my job. And the person in the front just kind of like guides, you know, like whatever. Like, if you can imagine a canoe, okay? And all this, I'll just try to find a diagram, I guess you could say, of what it is. But anyway, the person in the back is just kind of like the steerer, you know, whatever. The turner, I think, like, I don't even know the technical term for it. I'll look it up. But anyway, mind you, we have a 9-hour float ahead of us. We no sooner get in the water and we flip it over. Like, this thing is, they're so easy to flip over. And so we instantly, like, get in, flip it over, and we're like, this is going to be a long, long 9 hours. Because there was no changing it at that time. Like, because you have to reserve what you're taking. So, like, we had no choice. It was either get in the canoe or we're swimming for the next 9 hours. And so we chose to get back up, keep going and going. We're like, you know, like, how hard can this be? Like, you know, we're going to have a rough start, but we're going to get the hang of it. We did not do that at all. So we started floating down the river. All was good, all was well. We finally started to get the hang of it, but at first it was like a straight shot, so we really didn't have to like steer or do anything like crazy like that. And there wasn't a lot of rapids at that part of the river, so like we were solid. We were just trucking along, you know, not a big deal. Everything was good. Well, when we started getting into the turns and all that stuff, we flipped and flipped and flipped and flipped and had to get back in it and like all this stuff. But you know, it was fine, like whatever. We got back up, we kept going. It was a long and exhausting day. And at the point, we were maybe 3/4 of the way through. So we still had a good few hours left. Okay. Everybody that was in our group was like, oh, you know, you guys got the hang of it. I guess this is what they thought. Like, oh, you guys got the hang of it, whatever. So, like, they just trucked on by us. Well, at this point, our canoe starts filling up with water. How? We really aren't sure. I don't know if at some point we punctured a little hole or something in the water, but we were like, what do? We got to catch up to them, right? Second mistake. If your canoe starts filling up with water, don't get in it. Do not get in it. Just leave it there and swim, okay? I'm gonna tell you that right now. Do not get in it. Take your chances and swim. Because mind you, we didn't have our phones. We didn't have any of this because we were in the water. And so our phones and all that stuff was like left back at camp. And only a couple people had phones, and those people were in the rafts. And they were all way ahead of us. So we didn't have a cooler. We had no water. We had none of that. And so we're exhausted at this point. And we attempt to pick up the canoe and try to dump the water out. And that major no-go. Did not work. So we flip it back over, which then in return led to more water getting into it. But we were like, we have got to catch up. Like, we're dying out here. Like, it is just hot. Like, we don't know what to do. And like, nobody, and I mean nobody, is stopping on the river. And this river gets floated like heavily. Nobody is stopping to help. No, like, none of this. Like, they see us out here and we're struggling. And so we finally get it flipped back over, even though there's water in it, and we start going again. And we're like, what do we do? And so, like, we get to this point where, like, we either have to drag this canoe across, like, a large, like, I don't even know what you would call it, like, rock pit type thing, where it's, like, it's kind of like, it's got a little couple hills in it, but it's just rocks. And so it's like, we can either take our chances and, like, try to drag this thing over there, but we are exhausted and we are tired, or we can take this sharp turn which has really fast rapids and is deep enough that it's like over our heads. Like, we don't even know like how deep it is at this point, but we do know it is deep because like there's a tree that is like fallen over in it, and like it's covered, like, and it's a huge tree. And so, and we know this because like there are people just kind of like sitting there, and like they've warned us because the rapids were like fast. And I mean, like, they were so fast, like you had to know what you were doing. And on the other side of the rapids was a corner that once you got past them, you had to turn. And so we're like scared. We're like, okay, like, here comes the next mistake, was thinking that we had this covered, and we did not. So we thought it would be a great idea to switch. He wanted to be in the back and steer, and I was like, okay, like, I'll be in the front, and we'll do this. Like, it'll be fine. We'll do this, right? Mind you, at this time, this would have been 3 years ago, so he would have been like 16, 15, and I was like 20-ish, 21-ish, somewhere in there, okay? So, yeah, and he is like, he's super short. No offense, but no offense to this kid. You know, I know he's gonna see this video, but like, no offense, I love you, but like, super short. He's grown a few inches since then, okay? But at that time, he was short, and he's like super skinny anyway. And so it's like, alright, like, this is gonna go one of two ways, either really good or really bad, and neither of us had a good feeling about it. We were both just fucking done though with the day. We were hot as hell, we were tired as fuck, we needed water, all this shit. So we switch. I get in front, like, okay. We start going. Everything starts out smooth. We try to go as slow as we can, but if you've never went floating, like, as soon as you hit the rapids just take you. You don't really, they're so strong, like, the strength that it takes to like go against them is crazy, and like, I don't know if anybody can do it. I couldn't do it, he couldn't do it, like, everybody that was going through there, like, couldn't do it. Like, we sat there for a second before we like went through it, and we just watched people just flip and fall out and all this other stuff. But a lot of it was like they made it to the end and then flipped whenever they went to turn the corner. But like, they were fine, everything was good, right? And we're like, okay, so we're trying to like judge and watch how people are doing this. So we know like, okay, like, we need to turn here, we need to do this, all this other stuff. Mind you, at this time, nowhere in sight is our family and the people like we were with, like, none of this. Like, we did not see them. And so we're like, we don't have any choice, like, we gotta do this. And so we take off. And as soon as we took off, like, I mean, instantaneously, the rapids just freaking take us. And as they're like taking us, like, we're trying our best, like, oaring away from it, like, and just trying to like, and I think that may have been where we messed up, I don't know, but we were trying to like oar away from it, and we went sideways, hit the tree, hit this like tree branch that was sticking up, and it was just like a slow motion flip. But there was like nothing we could do because we were flipping into the rapids, and so there was like nothing, and like nothing we could do. And thankfully the canoe we were in was like an open canoe. It wasn't like a closed one, like all that, because it could have like folded in half and like all this other stuff. And so we flipped. He was in the back, I was in the front, and I'll put it in the footage here in a minute. But whenever you see this, like, it literally looks like it's in slow motion, but there is nothing, and I mean nothing we could do. Like, being there was way more scary than what this footage shows, because I had a GoPro on, so I have the footage of like what happened in the whole thing. I don't even know how long, like, I was underwater. So we flipped, and his foot got caught between the canoe and the tree, and he was like trying to fight his way out. Well, he couldn't go around, he had to just go for it. And so he he wiggled his way out of his shoe somehow, because, you know, you gotta have water shoes or your feet are just gonna be destroyed. Wiggled his way out of his shoe, and he made it up before I made it up. I went under, and I don't know what was in me, but like I was trying to fight to swim, because we flipped into the rapids. Like, I didn't know what was on like the other side of the tree. I didn't know any of this, so I'm like trying to like swim, like, because I can't stand up. The water is going so fast that I could not stand up, and I was like trying everything I could to like grab and like swim and like all this stuff, and I couldn't. And I hit this point where I was like, this is it, like this is the end, like I'm not gonna come up from this. And I just like closed my eyes and I just like stopped fighting. And I don't even know how, but like I ended up down river, and finally like there was these people that had like stopped. They were in like the rapids and they had stopped, and she was down there, and like I don't know if like she like stopped me or like what happened, but I was able to like, I got stopped, got my feet planted, and I was able to come up. And I look up and I'm looking around for Mason, and I'm like, what the fuck? And at first I did not see him, and I was like, I gotta go back, like I gotta go in there for him, right? And so then like I see him and I'm like, okay. And our stuff is just everywhere, floating everywhere, shoes, hats, everything everywhere. And at this point we don't know what to do, because our canoe is underwater in the rapids, hung up on a tree. It is starting to bend at this point. And we're like, what do we do? Like, we're about to have a however far swim back, like, because we don't have phones. Like, what are we supposed to do? Well, these people, they offered to give us a ride in their raft, and we didn't know them, and we were just kind of like, I don't know, like whatever, like we don't know. And so we were like, no, like we got to figure out how to get this canoe out and all this, or we have to call it in. We have to do something, because one, if someone comes down here and hits our canoe, like our canoe's like on the bottom of the river. Like there's nothing like anybody's gonna be able to do, like to stop. Like they're gonna get trapped under there. Like this is not gonna be good. And may I recall, there have been several people that have been killed on this corner, and I'd be damned, I thought we were gonna be the next two. And so we like, I can't even, like, we were like, okay, like we gotta try to get this out. So we like kind of walked over there and we were like, what do we do? And like these people were trying to help us, but like there was nothing we were gonna be able to do. Like we were not gonna be able to get that out. Like you could not float and get this. And I just don't even understand, but like this happened, and it sucked the last part of battery out of my GoPro that I had, and I am so glad that it caught it all on video. But finally we were like, okay, like we're just gonna have to swim and get back to camp, like wherever. Like we have like a 3-hour swim ahead of us, but like we're just gonna have to do it, because if we don't, like we have to get there so like somebody can call somebody, because everybody that was around us did not have a phone, like that it stopped to like call and be like, hey, yo, like this has happened, like whatever. So thankfully, like, yeah, so we're like, whatever. So we start walking, because we like hit this like part where it was like gravel. So we started walking over these hills, and we look rough as shit. And we get like over on the other side of it, and like we see like our family and all that, like they're stopped up there, and we're like, oh, like this is good, like we're not gonna have to swim back. And so like we're just trying to like get their attention, and they come over there. Well, his dad, his sister's boyfriend, and one other dude, and I think my dad all came over there. And before anybody even asked it, the only person that asked if like we were okay at that time was his sister's boyfriend. Otherwise, like everybody else was just kind of freaking out trying to get this canoe out of the water, and like we did not even ask like if we were okay. And so that was just like rough, but we were like, okay. So like we in that moment felt like we had really like fucked up, even though like it wasn't our like fault. Like we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. So somehow they got the canoe out with a bunch of people, because like at that point a bunch of other people had stopped, and they finally got it out. They got it flipped over. They made us walk all the way, or well, swim all the way to the rafts, and they took it and they canoed up to the rafts. And then whenever we got up there, we got in the rafts. The canoe had a big dent in the side of it where it had started to like fold, and we had to get in the rafts and all that. And so we got our asses reamed. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, we got our asses reamed for what they said we were being stupid, which was not the case. And I know I probably shouldn't just be putting this out there on the internet, but it's okay. It's fine. We did though. We felt fucking stupid, like that we didn't know what that we should have known what we were doing, even though we didn't and nobody told us. I mean, like, we were young. Like, they told us we could canoe. Like, we didn't know. Like, now we know that you need to know. So like, I guess this is just kind of like like learn from our mistakes, because we almost did not make it home from that float trip. Like, that was scary. That was crazy. And we still talk about it to this day. Neither of us have gotten in a canoe since. We won't. I haven't floated since. But here's some pictures from the float trip. hope you guys enjoy this footage. And here's a picture of my injuries. My leg was fucked. I don't even know if it was like, I don't even know like exactly what happened because I refused to go to the doctor, but I think I broke a couple bones. But here's a picture of my leg. But yeah, so that's just kind of the story of don't be dumb, do your research. If you're canoeing, especially do your research because it is hard as hell. And yeah. So we're just thankful we're alive, and yeah, we hope we never have to deal with anything like that ever again. But enjoy this footage, or I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. I hope you enjoyed this story time. If you want to hear more stories about my life, because there are plenty to be shared, you know, just comment down below. Message me, DM me on Instagram, whatever you're feeling. Follow me on TikTok, and I'll do more story times. Like, my life has been an adventure in my 24 years of living. So yeah, I guess I'll just see you guys in the next one. Peace.